sail
Yeah, we're
into,
recording.
yeah, it's.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, where are we?
Now what?
Now what? Did we leave off at? Where did we leave off? Was it?
Sure.
Was it auditor we left
I
off
think
at?
Went through auditor.
Yeah, we need to go over the auditor.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Let's
No.
skip over her.
I think,
I-
Really go into detail
We
on
did
hers.
the auditor, I think we were honestly, I don't know.
Did we get to
That's right.
were we on
I think we
I think we
conservation?
might have stopped at the
I
auditor.
think we stopped at the auditor.
Okay. I think you might be right.
So did you change anything for the auditor?
Yep,
I don't think we
yep,
did.
No.
we're gonna just gonna do away with an auditor.
Okay.
It's not gonna happen.
Okay.
Save a lot of
Good
money.
luck with that.
We're gonna save a lot of money that
I
way.
don't know if the state code supports that.
It's one of those unfunded mandates.
Yeah.
We don't need checks and balances. Nobody needs to record anything.
Okay.
Okay, so we are up to civil defense, which
That
is what it is.
budget got approved, so it's,
Which that has emergency management and E911 under that, but.
yeah.
Well,
Is
no,
there-
E911 is
separate.
separate.
That's further down.
Yeah,
That's in the E's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
the
yeah, that is-
82,000 department.
yeah.
You're jumping to E911.
No.
No.
But we don't need to go over
We don't need to go over civil defense.
civil defense, which is emergency management.
Correct. So then we're to conservation.
Which he has a commission that sets his,
He has a board, but we can still,
We
Yeah.
have full commit
we have more control over it.
financial authority there.
We
Which-
have new sheets as of 114, they did change to the 4%.
Yep.
so-
Yep, I saw that.
So outside of that, I don't know if we really have
Yeah,
any
there were-
issues there.
Yeah.
nothing that
I
stood
didn't have
out.
anything else wrote down.
I don't remember
I
if they
did.
increased the tax estimate, I'm just gonna pull that up.
Revenue, or what?
There
Yeah.
was an increase and that was land acquisition. And I remember him talking about that was with that property, I believe it was down off of.
Trail property.
Yeah, 169.
Yeah.
That money was coming from where?
That was
Was
coming
it
from the
grant?
reserve fund.
Habitat stamp
Yeah.
grant funding was what they were talking about, that was conditional. And
Did
then,
that?
I haven't heard.
Okay, so
I
what,
don't know.
in their revenue, I'm not trying to skip forward or anything, but in their revenue, under the 80,000 fund, he has budgeted 89.4, and like last year, 70,000, they received 358.
Where do you see this?
Oh,
What's that?
849022, page 1 of
Revenue.
revenue. Second line.
Oh,
That might be donations.
oh, I bet that's interest.
No.
No,
that's
interest
not
is down below that.
That's what I thought we were looking at.
Was
Did
that-
it say,
Donations for
Oh.
the 80,000 fund? For what?
General revenues, camping fees?
no,
That wouldn't be that much.
$8,000 in
That-
camping fees.
let me pull it up.
Cause gosh, in 21, 22, they received 560,000.
Yeah.
23, 331, last year only, or I shouldn't say last year, well, yeah, kind of, 23, 24.
Yeah.
They budgeted 60 and only took in 31,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now this year already, it's up again.
It's not something to do with grant dollars, is it?
No, that usually has
Yeah, I was gonna say typically,
a special. So let's see,
Oh, I see camping fees below that,
tax appropriation is down, that's what I was looking for,
Oh, that is not what I wanted.
down 25,000. Which that would have been before the reduction in salary, so I don't know if they took any out there or where else they balanced that with. And that was 545. So it's budgeted.
Okay, so in December, we got $309,183.04.
We can give you the sheets off Ryan, his revenue due.
Well, that's what I was looking at, this would be the expenses and then it comes to income.
Oh, the $300,000 came from the Rod Schmidt estate.
So that would have
Oh.
been, that would have been donations.
Yep,
Yeah,
that was a
yeah.
donation.
Oh,
And
okay.
Which that would have, that's,
Yep, so
Would've
that's
been
where that came
substantial.
from, Rod
Yeah.
Schmidt
Wow,
estate.
that fund has to have quite a bit of money in it.
No,
Where do they spend it?
that wasn't cash, was it?
It was in,
I don't,
It was
well,
in
there
the-
was.
It-
there
It was a
land.
ISB check.
Yeah, it had to have been
So
cash if
then,
it's
yeah,
in
it
there.
Yeah.
did have
Yeah.
to have been cash. Cause there was land and probably
Right.
cash with it.
right,
Wow.
So that was a big chunk there,
So who spends that money? They do, on their own?
yeah.
Usually, yeah, usually it's to purchase land or something,
Mhm.
is what they use it for.
Yep, so that's the difference there.
okay.
Okay,
Do you have a fund balance on their conservation reserve fund?
Let me see, yeah.
We had asked Kendall when we were talking about that Trail property, but I couldn't remember what it
I thought,
They were gonna spend some of the money they had in a fund,
yeah,
in
they,
addition to that grant dollar.
yeah, they were.
So-
let's try that fund.
The ending
It's
fund
the
balance,
reserve for sure.
the ending fund balance for this year is estimated to be $678,227, and at the end of 2026, $483,627.
after they spend the money, yeah.
After this
Okay.
grant one.
So there'll be about 480-some thousand after this year.
What about their 23,000 fund, Tammy?
Let me look.
So when they came to spend that money on the Trail property, they already knew they had the money from
Mhm.
Schmidt?
Yep,
Yeah, yep,
So this year, they're projected to end at 29,804, next year 10,800.
Okay. That's a
What?
23,000 fund?
Yes,
well,
I was-
that's REAP.
I was just asking what the fund balance was,
what is REAP?
because, you
Road
know, they,
enhancement or-
they
Yeah.
budget an
Yeah.
expenditure
It's a special,
in there, so
Okay.
I was just kinda curious what their fund balance was.
So where are you looking when you're talking about fund balance?
Well, I just knew that it was a separate fund, so I just asked what the balance was, we don't actually have it.
Okay.
But their funds are like the 1,000, 80,000, and 23,000 funds, where they would have spend money out of.
yeah, when you said that figure, I was wondering if that was the donation stuff, or where that would go.
Okay. I got no other questions.
I really don't on conservation after, I mean, I'm thankfully, there's the
Actually-
4%.
So the bottom line is they're asking for about $20,000 more, right? And that's probably all in salaries, although it's up 12%.
Well, and I was actually looking at this a little bit off, when I said earlier, I was looking at the tax appropriation line, which would be general fund dollars. 23-24 was 574, so I compared that to the end, and that would be a reduction, but last year, they were at 533, 367, so we'd be up a little over 12,000 with their request this year, unless that was updated, and I have not correlated that back across.
yeah, a lot of those sheets he gave us have been updated.
Okay, so,
He hasn't given me new sheets, but he changed them after.
yeah, so on the revenue side, look.
935, 939. they're gonna need 752,000, is that?
Where did you get that number?
Well, I'm just taking the expenses minus the revenue.
Oh,
Is that not right? I'm open to learning here.
Okay, what, sorry, I'm not,
So what I have here with his sheet, Kendall gave us was total expenses of 943, 143, which that would have changed with the wages. But then on the income side,
183.
total would
that
have
should be the
been,
same, I'm showing that's the same,
183, 900?
yeah,
I see
their
that.
total expenses were the same?
no, the
Full revenue.
revenue.
So where's this why, I don't mean, again, I don't mean to get pain in the hind end, but where's this 943 at if it's not on these sheets that are dated January?
He's looking at this sheet that
I
Kendall gave us.
understand,
Yeah.
but why,
What, why what?
why are we looking at a different style of sheet?
It's on the other ones too.
Yeah, it's on the other ones,
yeah, but
You
it's
gotta-
different,
It's different.
it's different than what we had from Kendall.
because he changed it, Kendall, he had, in this sheet, he had to go back and change it.
With a 4% for
Yeah, cause this
wages.
original sheet, he had 6%
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, so
For
I got a
raises.
difference from 943, 143 to 935, 962, is that what you
Yep.
guys are all?
Which one are you using?
The new one.
This one
But
versus
that
the
one's
sheets that
probably
were
not-
printed 114.
That one's probably not right either, because on page 1, you changed the amount of health insurance. So that's gonna be in there.
Okay. What date should we be looking for, or do we have those
You
sheets?
you might not have those in there, unless on page 1, and row 4,
Yeah.
11322, what do you have for an amount there?
10,665.
Yeah, no, it's 12226.
Okay, so.
Okay, so how do we know which sheets are accurate and which ones aren't?
So, I didn't, Howard had said at the last one not to print any more out, so I didn't print out any out after the last,
Howard,
after, after the last time we had them, I haven't printed any more
I
out.
just, I don't know, if we talk about changes, and we're looking through this, I like to have the correct sheets. I mean, it's kind of a, I don't know, I feel like it's important, but,
Okay, so that was the one change?
That's the one change that I,
Just health insurance.
and then that one, and then on page 3, there's another health insurance one. Cause we had to go through and change all the health insurances for
Yeah.
all the departments.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then page 5,
what was it on page 3?
on page 3, 25,726.
25,726. Okay, and then page 5.
Page 5, 37,951.
okay, will
I'll
you
get
say,
you the other one, 37,951.
Yep.
that's on page 5,
Yep, off of page 5,
37,951,
yep,
So that's 4,000 and 4,000 and
page
8.
3 is
So I can pull
25,726.
my sheet up here.
25,726.
Do you wanna project it on the screen? Or not really?
That's fine.
What was the first line, or the first page?
Okay.
Sure, that's, I mean, that's up to you.
12,226.
12,
226?
Yeah,
12,226.
12,226.
okay.
And what was, hold on, page 3.
3 was 25,726. Oh shit. I mean, I can display it, I can do whatever you want. I can print it, I can do whatever you want.
33,091.
So the total expenses should be 946,778.
946,778.
Yep,
Okay.
but you're right, Howard, you minus that and you end up with 760.
Well, that's probably wrong, yeah, there's a new number, yeah.
Yeah, but
And
700,000.
that's up significantly, or did you say?
I was looking at the tax dollars they were asking from
Okay.
general.
The expenses are up 11%, so is revenue.
And I've not done math on this, but the tax appropriation will go from 533 to 545, so it's 12,000.
What are you talking about?
I wanna know too, I'm just sitting here
Right.
befuddled.
This. For their income, that's general.
Well, it's not tax though.
No, it's not a tax, they don't have a
It's not a
tax.
tax appropriation, it's,
Yeah, they do not have a tax.
it's just strictly revenue.
Where are you seeing this?
It does say it on his sheets, on budget proposal number 1, it says tax
Well, and that's what I
appropriation.
was looking for, cause don't they get money from the general fund? Do we have that in non-departmental or something?
Well, they get money from the general fund, their salaries and stuff come out of it, but it's not like an allocation, it's just their expenses come out of there.
Yeah.
So we're not giving them an interfund transfer or anything,
Yeah.
they're just budgeted out of the general fund. So they don't have a tax.
Listed in there just differently than what.
So basically what he's putting is saying what the general fund's gonna be contributing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what they're taking out of the
What
general
they're,
fund.
yeah,
Not to muddle the waters, but a separate question, does the nature center operate differently from conservation or is it within it?
they
It
have
has
their
its
own
own
budget,
budget,
nature center, he budgets that all separate. And has separate income for that, because obviously people rent it and.
Yeah,
That doesn't answer why it's separate, though, that would help me out.
Oh, it's separate, well, because when the money was first decided for them to get the nature center, it was basically, they raised funds specifically for that, so that's why it became its own budget. People donate specifically for it.
Like, again, not my intent to be a smart ass, but when it comes time to spend $100,000 on the roof or something, where's the money gonna come from?
Yeah, from general basic.
yeah, from the general fund.
So then it won't be operating on its own. Okay, that's fine, I just.
Well, I mean,
understand. It won't
most,
happen in
yeah,
my tenure
yeah, I
anyway,
know.
probably. So-
Most of the departments aren't operating really on their own.
No, I don't expect them to, but this is a fund separate within, it's okay, don't worry about it.
It's not a fund separate, it's still the same fund, it's still the general fund,
It's
it's
just
not a
breaks it
separate
out.
fund,
Department,
yeah.
It's not a different department.
Yes, it is,
It
it's
is.
different department,
it's a different department, not different fund.
yeah.
It's still out of the general basic fund.
I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, I apologize.
That's okay.
It's okay.
It's all right.
So if I went through here and added up all these sheets, the computer printed sheets or whatever, the nature center wouldn't show up? or-
Yeah, it's in there, it's in your book.
It's in your book under nature
Ah,
center.
okay, alright, thank you.
we'll get to that in the end.
We're only on the C's.
Yeah,
So I
jumping
got-
way ahead
I got-
here,
I
Howard.
got the colored sheet filed in the wrong place,
Yeah,
that's what it amounts to.
That's okay.
Yeah, I do too, it's cause you presented on it at the same time. It was just-
Okay, I'll learn it, I'll try, and I won't remember, but I'll try.
Well, anything else for conservation? Otherwise, we got the courthouse.
And that's just basically a building thing, or is it more than that?
Well, it's a lot to do
it's,
with
there's some
Building
extra stuff in
and
there, like,
fuel and.
yeah,
postage,
tort
whatever.
liability, ICAP insurance, that kinda stuff is out of there, those are the big ones.
Yeah, our property insurance comes out of
Yeah.
courthouse,
Mhm.
yeah.
It's just expensive.
Insurance,
Mhm.
yeah.
Wow. insurance.
Insurance, yeah.
Yep,
10%, so that's a
Yeah.
big chunk.
otherwise everything else didn't change
Yeah,
much.
it looked like the insurance was the only, postage was there, but that, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, you have to, yeah.
Postage has been the same, oh wait,
So,
oh, I'm not looking at the right one, ignore me.
But we did talk about, you know, I think I brought it up, that you guys must have last year, did you raise some deductibles or something? To try to make
Yeah.
our insurance
Yes.
not quite so
Yes.
high?
yeah,
Yeah,
Wow, it's just so high.
there comes a point, well, and health insurance is kinda the same way, you never save money with insurance, you just,
Yeah,
it's just not reality, you know,
No,
I mean, cause you do all you can, I know with my personal insurance, you do all you can to change things in your house or your car or whatever, and then next year, you're back to the same price anyway.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the 1,500 of revenue, selling stuff, is that,
Let's see what goes
it
into,
didn't work your time then?
I don't know off the top of my head, so let me look.
Or is that,
Administration.
Jeans Day?
No, I don't think that goes into there,
Okay.
he said Jeans Day.
No,
It's not.
no.
Oh, forgot to include in my board report, it's, Super Bowl luncheon tomorrow at 11:30.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. For wellness committee is putting on.
That's important,
It is.
don't forget that.
Come on.
In the old boardroom.
Yes.
Do we have any other things on courthouse?
I was looking at the 1,500 is all,
Oh,
and that started in necessary.
all that miscellaneous.
51. Oops, did the wrong one.
Are we custodians now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does Deb fall under other help as well? Is it really Ron and Deb or just
Yeah.
really not?
No, Deb is in there too.
Okay.
I'll be right back, let me know if I miss anything important.
Oh, so that miscellaneous is retired employee life insurance.
Oh, yeah,
The revenue one?
Yeah. So they,
How
what
does that
happens,
Oh, they pay.
they pay us and then we pay the
Oh,
life
okay.
insurance.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's okay.
Did you forget you asked that question?
No, I
No.
Just took me a while cause I typed in the wrong number.
so for custodians, the difference, like say in Ron and Will, in 24-25 is like 15 cents, so do they get longevity or how's that?
That's the
Yeah,
difference.
Mm-hmm.
that's the difference,
Yep.
And Deb is in that one too.
yeah,
Ron's gotta be, oh, what was he in 30 years? Was that it?
Yeah, he's 31 this year actually,
31?
so.
Yeah, even though, cause
He's gotta
didn't
be
we
getting
just
close to
do his,
Retirement?
Yeah.
his,
His
because we
certificate.
forgot
He
it
got
last
missed
year.
on
He got
the
missed.
list.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep,
Ron's 3 years younger than me, 2 or 3 years younger than me.
okay,
So he's 62 or 63,
sure.
or in that.
The health insurance on these ones have changed, that one has changed too.
Okay, is that the only number that changed?
Yes, and that number is 63,677.
We're talking line 11308,
Yep,
66 what?
no, 63,677.
63677, okay. Yeah, we didn't get very far.
We're in custodians now?
Yeah,
What's under C?
No revenue.
yeah.
Maybe Ron and Willie need to get creative. No. I don't know, I got no concerns for any of that.
Only increases for either wages or minor things that.
Maybe some health insurance.
And if you're to data processing, that health insurance changed as well,
Okay,
Okay,
77,177.
up from the 67?
Yes.
Is that, okay. 77,177. Okay. How come his raise is calculated at 4.17?
Where do you see that?
Are you on page 2?
Page 2, top of page 2.
That's not a wage,
No, I was gonna say his is page 1.
that's maintenance.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I was about to say this is,
Yeah, I mean,
I saw IT,
Yeah.
information technician,
Yeah.
okay.
it's
Alright.
close, but.
No, that's my bad,
Yeah,
that's my bad.
the numbers
The
are.
numbers were almost correlated there,
Mhm.
yeah.
Staff wages are always followed by
Mm-hmm.
all your benefit lines right after that with FICA, IFRS, health insurance, life insurance, all that fun stuff.
I've got no concerns on the expenses there.
what's their bottom line now, Tammy?
For IT is now, make sure I. 769, 694, but that doesn't seem right, hold on a second.
That'd be about right.
Yeah, about a 10,000 increase for the health insurance. If everything else stayed the same.
But that's only
Something
2,000.
else.
No, it's 10,
Yeah, it should have.
cause it was at 759, you just went to 769.
Oh, mine says 767, so mine must be
Oh.
different, okay.
Okay,
Yeah, we went from 67 to 77, so.
Right, but there's differences in there. I mean, second line on the first page, was down 9,000. There's, I'm not arguing the net is up 10, but there's several things that made it up, negatives and positives.
Oh, yeah, we're just talking the changes from the last version,
Yeah.
so that would have been.
I'm saying, it wasn't all health insurance. Health insurance seems to correlate, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
there was many things.
Yep.
I'm good with that.
So 769, 694, right?
Yes.
Everyone good with IT? Data processing rather? Okay, district court,
Isn't much to do with that.
Yep.
My notes have no changes.
No
We haven't
changes.
discussed anything to change before.
okay, E911,
That budget is tonight, so
so we won't die on that hill.
I don't think there's any changes.
What does it say, C note, equipment?
Probably because we were talking about all the.
Oh,
some of that
yeah.
stuff.
Okay, elections. We're not gonna have those anymore.
Yeah,
If we don't have an auditor.
you're not gonna have a job.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any changes to this.
Or you're stuck in it for life, I don't know what's
There you
worse.
go, yeah, right?
Don't say that too loud, there's people that think we won't have elections in 2 and 4 years already.
Really?
Yeah, how are they gonna do that?
Yeah, exactly. A little bit outside the box.
Well, I mean, there's not really much we can do with elections there, so. Election center,
It doesn't hurt to pay attention, and when you get to the end, you're gonna say, why is it up $600,000 or
Yeah.
$2.6 million? I agree, there's not much you can do about it.
And actually by Iowa code, election's one place you can't cut.
Can?
Can't.
Yeah, I believe you.
Well, you
And-
have to have them.
Yeah,
And
it's kind of a
Yeah.
necessity.
yeah,
And it's one of the things that we can have on general supplemental, so there's not a limit
Right.
on the dollars and that, on
And
those
in
uses.
certain odd number years, we get a little income out of it, so.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's, at least it's something.
Although, that was one thing that was brought up down at ISAC too, was the mailing with all
Yeah.
the
Yes.
property tax stuff.
Yes,
And the fact that cities and schools are both on that mailer and they don't financially contribute, it's only the counties that are paying the bill for everybody's
Right.
information to get distributed.
and the reason we have to have it done March 1st is so that we can get all the information from us, school boards, cities to the printer to get it all printed on the notice to be ready to mail out on the 15th.
I think the schools should have to pay for that, they're paying money.
Or at least make a contribution of some sort.
Yeah, if we paid our share of it, it would be different, but there was totals across the state from last year, and that cost the state of Iowa taxpayers about $1 million just for the mailers
Yep.
statewide.
Mhm.
Revenues,
Unfunded mandates.
Yeah,
And then they could let us get any more revenue. Seems fair. No,
so revenue side on the election center, the 1,500, that's just for rental,
mhm.
okay.
Have you got any questions there?
no questions on that at all.
Then we've got our simplest budget.
You want to skip that and come back?
Oh.
You would probably move through a lot if we.
Well, there's a couple things that I think we might need to talk about.
I put revisit on there, but I
Yeah.
don't know why.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure it was just, it looks like I got all kinds of notes.
yeah. You wanna talk about that now or go through all those smaller ones first?
It's up to you guys.
You the boss.
Well,
Do you wanna get to a point where some of these smaller ones we're like, okay, we're done with, and then only
I-
deal with the ones we
would-
really
I
wanna
would
revisit,
say,
like this
let's
one?
do that, let's just roll through the,
Okay,
Okay,
Rest
I'll
of those
put
budgets.
sticky notes on the ones we gotta revisit.
I just don't wanna get hung up on one and then we don't go through the rest of them, you know?
yeah, let's get as much done as possible.
Okay, so fair,
That's fair.
Did you guys already go through the ambulance,
Yep.
those yet already?
Yep.
Okay, so I can
Yeah.
take the sticky notes off of that one.
We
Yeah.
did those,
We
yeah,
did.
yeah, we did, Tammy was still here.
couple
That's
weeks
when
ago.
we revisited the auditor, the attorney,
We
the
talked through
ambulance.
ambulance, but we were gonna wait
Well,
till the advisory council
Yeah,
meeting
we
to come back
couldn't
for
finalize
salaries.
it,
Oh,
and
so-
it was what we talked
Yeah, we
about.
still need
Yeah.
to go back to ambulance, but.
Yeah.
We need to go back.
Well, we
to
did
that
talk about it,
next week.
Yep,
Okay, I'll put ambulance
yeah,
Yeah,
sticky
we
notes.
did, we did
'Cause-
touch on it, but
so
we
we'll,
weren't done with it.
next week we'll visit ambulance and E911.
Yeah.
We'll
yep,
revisit
Because
those
both
two.
of those have meetings tonight, so we'll we'll do them next week.
yeah. Okay,
alright.
fair is straightforward,
It's straightforward, but all this talk about the grandstand, what are we gonna do? I know that doesn't maybe come out of that department, it would be non-department, but,
Yeah.
I don't know that
What
we're
are we
gonna
gonna do?
contribute anything to the fair this year.
To the grandstand, nothing?
This year, I mean, we've already kind of allotted that for
Is the
secondary
TIF,
road
is
project.
the TIF stuff out of non-departmental?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
and when we do give, how much, you know,
But do we have to, okay, but here's the thing, do we have to allocate it out of, I know it was a project within that, but doesn't mean we have to allocate it through there. I mean, are you guys gonna commit anything to the grandstand project since all of this talk has taken place? I mean, I think the public has a perception that it's at least being talked about.
it's an option in the plan, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess to that notion, I think we should have something in this year's budget and whatever number we land on for discussion, and I know from my conversations with Scott, we could talk about doing something over 3 years or 5 years, but even some sort of commitment is something that they can use. So,
We've done that for other things in the past, you know, the nature
Yeah.
center,
and
the pool,
the library, for
Yeah.
Oklahoma's library, we did 5,000 over 5 years. And even if it wasn't directly in this year's budget, I mean, that's something else, but I guess I would think we should do, in my opinion, I think we should do somewhere between a quarter and a half a million for the grandstand. I don't think we should go above that, and I know the money that was put into our plan was up to $1 million, but I didn't have intentions of the whole thing.
But
But-
that you're gonna have to do, if you take it from there, you're gonna have to do a
We would have to borrow for
Yes.
that much.
General fund.
And it would, to make it the cleanest, and this is obviously pending, attorney's advice or financial advice, but I would think the cleanest way to do it would be through outside funds, through the bond market, not county funds of any sort. So, I guess,
Well, you
if
can-
we looked at something
You can
like-
do county funds, you just can't do TIF county funds from rural.
Yeah, it wouldn't be able to be from rural, it could be from
Why?
general.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say, why would we, I mean, I suppose it depends on the dollar figure that we would land upon, but why can't we just allocate out of the general fund X amount of dollars for 5 years?
You can.
We could.
Why are we gonna borrow money? I mean, to me, I think it's silly to borrow money. If we could afford it out of the general fund, you know, something reasonable, why would we borrow money right now? I mean, we're already talking about how we don't know how we're gonna do all this stuff, like,
Well, if we got the money in the general fund, then yeah, that'd be better to do than borrow more. I mean, we're already borrowing $1 million for secondary road projects, I'd rather not borrow more
I
in the
would
same
rather
year,
not
but.
borrow. I really would rather not borrow.
The difference between the two is who pays the dollar. And if we take it out of the TIF fund, in the end, we would be able to have that paid for by the taxes just generated from the wind turbines and the Gold Eagle project, since they're all combined into one now. Instead of having it paid for by general tax dollars across the county, and those general tax dollars across the county are limited by House File 718. The TIF is outside of that limit. So if we're doing kind of one-time money, whether it's one chunk now, or over 5 years, or 3 years, or whatever, if we're doing one-time money, to me it makes more sense to do it out of the TIF fund, because that's a one-time 20-year period where those funds are available. It's not something that's continuously paying wages or anything of that nature. We're able to do extra projects with designated funds. And that's why it was discussed to be included in the list of projects for TIF because it's funds that are available for designated projects.
I understand, but I just, we've already committed to Doug that he gets to use that 1.4 million that's in there, and I know this is different, I know this year, we'd have to do a different type of loan, but I don't know, I guess,
I understand where you're going with that too, Kyle, but, yeah.
I understand it, I just hate to see us borrow money.
I mean,
We have been debt-free, a debt-free county for many years. I hate to see us borrow money if we can, do it a different avenue where we can give an amount out of the general fund. I mean, how were we able to fund, I get it, they've limited us, but there was other years that we had some limitations too, and there was years that, as a board, it was decided upon that we'd keep the tax dollars, we were gonna generate the same tax dollars, and we'll do that levy. So, even though we could have had an increase, we didn't, and we were able to still fund some of those projects. Even if it's just this year. And then we readdress it and see where we're at. I mean, do we have to make a 5-year commitment at this time? I mean, could we just say, okay, we're not ready to do this commitment, we are not ready to borrow money quite yet?
well, I
But
know,
here's what we'll give you this year.
I know we're in the beginning phases of the TIF revenue ramping up, but I'm also keeping in the back of my mind that the projection is here within the next 5-6 years, whatever, we should be in the ballpark of $3 million a year coming in. So, to some degree, I mean, yeah, Doug's got a laundry list of projects that could be built. But is that the only place that we have uses for that money? To me, it's not the only place that that money could go towards. I think economic development across the county as a whole,
Right, but we have to take care of our services first.
right, but we're still talking a huge pot of new money that has not previously been part of the conversation for our secondary road system. And, I mean, we have had debt for the county for the last 10 years since we've had the Gold Eagle project, so I mean, we have had debt, but it's been
It's
specific.
internal debt.
Internal debt, not
It
going
is.
out to the market. I mean, we knew that it was going to be covered by ourselves.
Well, at some point, we're gonna have to go out to the market, because if we're pulling in, for the opportunity to have $3 million worth of TIF, any given year, we're not gonna have that in our fund balance and be able to do internal loans for that amount and then pay it back. So at some point, if we wanna be able to take full advantage of the TIF, we are gonna have to get some sort of, general obligation bond or, go out to the market and get.
Not
No,
necessarily.
we don't have to.
You
No.
can't collect the TIF and put it
Yes.
in the bank?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
We can only collect the TIF if you have outstanding debt that
Yeah.
exceeds the amount that's supposed to be collected.
Right.
So if we're expecting to collect 3 million and we don't have $3 million borrowed, then we don't get to collect the full amount.
But you can do it internally, just like you're doing
So,
now.
If
okay,
we have the money.
but I
which
think,
we
I
don't.
think where we're going with it is, if you borrow and you collect the money, and then you save that money for the following year and do an internal loan with that money to borrow the next year's money, is that kinda what you're?
But Kyle's saying the internal fund is not big enough to support that.
Not
Correct.
right now,
It's
but
not.
it will be.
Not if we don't cut our expenditures from our tax dollars. The only way we could functionally do that is if we reduce the transfers, like if we're talking roads and bridges, we would have to reduce the transfers from the rural basic account to secondary roads and keep some of that money back to build the balance back up, otherwise we won't have the money to support it. Especially a $3 million target hypothetically.
Right, and the way
We
I-
don't have that kind of fund balance.
the way I see it, the fund balance, the way it sits is we would only be able, be comfortable doing $1 million each year, then we're not taking full advantage of having that TIF. Then it's, because if we do $1 million each year of internal, loans and then pay it back with that TIF, we're losing out on an opportunity for another additional $2 million, whether it be for, road projects, bridges, things like that. We're still, because you have to have that debt certified.
I get that,
And you can't, if you don't have the internal funds there to be able to do the fund balance to be able to do the internal loans, then you can't certify that debt to the full amount that we can get from the TIP. The opportunity will be lost is what I'm concerned about. If we're trying to stick to what we have available for fund balances at, the end of each year, that is good fiscal responsibility, I understand that, but we're not taking full advantage of having that TIF there.
I think the concern is that it's not guaranteed to be there. It's projected to be there, but there's no guarantee,
there
and
is.
that's the scary part.
But that applies equally to every other tax dollar that we get in. I mean, we have our valuations, we have the levy rates, we have the projections of what's gonna come in, and if the state made some massive change to whatever factor, that would apply across the board. TIF is in its own category, but at this stage in the game, we should have fairly solid numbers of what's coming in. Like, probably more solid numbers than our projections on local option sales tax. But that's one thing we use as a budget figure. Obviously, at the end of the year, your actuals are your actuals, but at this stage in the game, we should have a pretty solid expectation there.
We weren't expecting House File 718 either.
But House File 718 didn't affect TIF.
I know, but I'm just using that as an example of how things can change
It's
very
the
quickly.
reason why you're pushing TIF.
Yes,
Right, and that's why I would suggest using that to the extent we can within reason. And I said this when we were first talking, if we stay within 1 to 2 years of projected revenue, especially on the front end, I feel really comfortable with that. Because from this year to next year, the amount should more than double. Because everything that's online now is gonna go from 5 to 10%, so that's gonna double percentage wise. And then I think it's the lead yard project that'd be at 0%, that will come on. So you'll have everything that's currently on doubling, and you'll have another project coming on for its first 5%, its first stage. So if you're talking, what's the figure, 550, something like that for TIF this year?
yeah,
So that minus 128 from Gold Eagle, say you got 400,000, that's gonna be 800,000 next year, plus the other project that's at 0 right now. So, and that's what those breakdowns of the financial, planning was that we looked at, of how those dollars are projected to come in, and it just, taking advantage of that, I feel is more valuable than spending general fund dollars on things that we have eligible for TIF. Because the TIF district is, even though, yes, there's interest being charged, the TIF district would be the entity that's paying that.
But, so directing the conversation kind of back into where we started with the grandstands and as far as the FY 26 budget, how is that affecting our conversation then? I mean, what are we thinking then? As far as, is that kind of deciding whether to borrow some extra to give to the grandstands, or give towards the grandstands out of the general fund. Is that kinda where I'm
Yeah,
following?
I
the
mean,
conversation
there's
there?
probably two conversations, one is the dollar amount, and two is where does it come from?
Right.
So,
Right,
yeah, they're both open for discussion, I guess, but. I mean, do we, and maybe we just start with what dollar amount do you guys have in mind, whether it's a one-time thing?
that would
or-
kind of affect where it comes from
Yeah,
too.
yeah, that's.
Yeah, and that's.
So, I mean, if we're talking, we're gonna give them $50,000, well, then we're not gonna borrow money for that. But if we're talking, yeah, we'll fund the whole thing at 2.1 million, well, that's a different story, you know, I mean, just.
Right,
What is the dollar amount that everyone's thinking? Yeah, go ahead.
you guys got anything in mind? I mean, I kinda said my piece.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not answering your question, cause I've got other questions, I apologize.
That's fine.
Muddle the waters, is, if you're gonna say, I don't care what the number is, if it's 200 or 250 or 150, if you're gonna say that's our intent in budget year, in fiscal year 26, but we intend to give more later, that's not a whole lot different than, that's counting on the future too, that we don't know, and then, I mean, I realize what doesn't work for, what works for me doesn't necessarily work for the county, I understand that. Let's go way back, let's go, way back, I guess, when we first started, I was hearing from people that, and I know, don't jump on me, Kyle, I know that, $1 million isn't where we were, that's just what we could do up to within TIF. But there certainly wasn't support for that number. And that's not my personal view, my personal view is, my personal view, which may not be pertinent, is I'd hate to see us lose the grandstand. I mean, it's the people I was hearing from, they thought the money was way out of line, so, when they were thinking it was $1 million. This would be one I'd like to kick down the road, and so, I don't have a feel for where we're gonna be at on the budget as a whole. Are we gonna make budget without any serious, but all that aside, and answer to your question, I guess it would depend to me whether there was a matching fund thing. I mean, just as a, if somebody said, well, we'll give you a $500,000, if the county will put in $500,000, that might sway my decision. But if it's just an, I don't know, but I'll say $250,000. That'd be my total commitment right now.
Sure.
That's with the 30,000 you're saying, or on top of the
No,
30?
just the grandstand.
Just the
We're
grandstand.
just talking the grandstands, as fair as it is here.
Your question was, what was your
Probably
thought
so.
on the grandstand?
Okay,
Right.
gotcha, I just wanna make sure I'm understanding.
Yep, yep.
I can get on board with that number, but I just really feel like this year, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, I am nervous about the TIF. I am nervous about it, I'm nervous that we are gonna bite off more than we can chew, and then, I mean, I get the fundamental part of it, that this should work and this should be great, and we're gonna, but I've also seen other counties think it and fail. Doesn't mean we're going to fail, but because of changes, they did, changes out of their hands. So this is a brand new thing, the TIF. We really haven't seen any money yet, but I know we're going to. I'd rather see us this year commit even $25,000 out of the general fund. And then have a better scope of things when the tax dollars start coming in and we see that, during valuation time, when we see, okay, here's the growth, here's what we can expect, and then commit to something a little bit bigger, because then we have something to stand on, like, okay, this did come true. I'm nervous about it. I'm very nervous about it. It's a lot of blue sky, and blue sky's great, but you don't always get it. And that's where I'm at with it. I'm cool with the $250,000, just maybe not committing to it at this point, but waiting until that TIF money comes in. But I'd like to see us give them something this year out of the general fund. That's where I'm at.
I think I'd be comfortable with the 250,000, that $250,000. I mean, that's only gonna fund an eighth of the project, but if we can commit that to them to at least get the project moving along.
So it shouldn't be the county's responsibility to fund the
Right.
project either.
Right, no, I know, and I'm not saying that that's what I wanna do in the
Yeah,
long run.
yeah.
But if they're gonna get any sort of project going, they need some skin in the game.
And they've had some big commitments from a few others as well, co-op and
Yep.
different donors, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a number of people about it, and yeah, I don't know anybody else that's been in favor of $1 million, like you say, Howard. And in fact, when we're approving all the TIF stuff for cities, Wesley and Kossuth both voted no on it because of the grandstands, that's what they were hung up on. So, they didn't fully understand what went into it as far as we wouldn't be able to build any projects within 2 miles of the town, but it just kinda hung up on the grandstands, the county's giving the grandstands $1 million. Is the
It scared
reason
people.
they didn't wanna have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree that the 250,000 is a much more reasonable number if we're gonna shoot for something. I'd probably go along with that, as far as where to get it from. Cause they came and said they wanna build it at the end of this summer,
Well,
but if they don't have the money, they're not gonna build it at the end of the summer.
and that's,
So-
I guess, that's part of it, I didn't say much on before, whatever, but the timeline of it. I think a commitment from the county would help encourage and support, I mean, it's kind of to your question, Howard, I don't know that it's direct matching funds, and maybe they have people out there that have said, if the county gives this or whatever, I'll give that. I don't know anything to that effect in concrete, hard commitments, but I think it goes to show a level of support. Even I think 250,000, I think is a solid contribution. Like I said, I wouldn't probably go over 500, but even at that, anywhere in the middle to me would be showing a solid level of commitment from the county. And I guess I mean, I've said a fair bit already, but when it comes down to the location of where those funds come from, if we can use TIF funds to preserve our general fund in any capacity right now with the way things are limited, I think that's a valuable option to consider. And I know the concern out there, it's a fair concern, but I mean, there's a lot of other things we do here that are based on information and professional guidance, and I guess I've seen other counties using TIF very successfully. I've seen other counties that have used TIF successfully on wind turbines in particular. There have been some that have been trouble, and I think the reasons they are trouble explain themselves if you look at the situations of what happened. And I'm not here to go into all that today, but
We shouldn't.
no, we shouldn't, but at the same token, I feel very confident that if we use this tool appropriately, we should be very comfortable. And I guess that's just where I'm at. I know there was a lot of concern throughout the process of this conversation, but I mean, kinda get to the point where, hey, this is what's projected in the budget, and it's like, well, okay, that's a nice dollar figure, like. I mean, think secondary roads budget, what kind of conversations would we be having if that wasn't part of the conversation right now? We'd have 128,000 coming in instead of 550 ballpark. So, I mean, that's just 1 year's revenue, but we wouldn't have been able to justify $1 million loan off of the Gold Eagle project, because that value from the TIF was to some degree almost used up already, even with the 10 years that's projected remaining. So, we didn't have a lot of bandwidth on that project alone, it's the new additions to it that gave us more bandwidth, so. I guess I'm just trying to roll all those factors in together.
But we need to decide what we're gonna budget this year, and if we're gonna budget anything for it.
Sounds to me like the consensus is the 250.
Where's it gonna
But
come from?
where, and is that this year, is that, I mean, Howard says 250, but I don't know that Howard was real
Enthusiastic.
enthused about doing it this year, or,
Well, I would like to see what the bottom line, I mean, it,
and maybe this is a conversation we have when we're all done here.
maybe you gotta commit to something somewhere to move along, I understand, but, if we say, okay, we're gonna do 250 and it's gonna come out of the general fund, and then we end up being $1 million short, I can assure you that's where the first 250 you'll go to, so.
Yep.
So it seems like you're spinning your tires to, I have no conviction that I understand everything about TIF, but evidently you have to borrow from somewhere, whether it's internal or external. Now, are you talking about 4 or 5% money if you go external, or what are you talking about?
Probably 3 to 4 if I remember right.
Let's use
I don't-
4, so it's gonna
Yeah.
cost you $40,000 to borrow $1 million. So, I mean, that's money you gotta think of politically acceptable, what, it's going down the river, it's gone just to comply with the rules. Whereas possibly, it sounds like the 250,000 could be rolled into this internal loan where we wouldn't be losing, is that, no, there's not enough money to even do that?
Not into this internal loan, you can't use it because it's coming out of rural and you can't use that to give to the
A city
fair,
project.
yes.
How-
So if you're
we
gonna
could
use TIF, it would
potentially
have to be external loan.
We could
Oh, it can be
potentially use
internal, but it
basic,
wouldn't be out of the TIF, it would be out of general basic.
which in that case, I mean.
You
if
just
wanted-
budgeted, it wouldn't be a loan, you would just budget it out of general basic.
And that's probably a good point, because if you wanted to say our target's 250 and we're gonna put 50 in for the next 5 years, if we did that out of an internal loan from general basic, worst case scenario is it would just be a contribution instead of an internal loan. And I'm not ever expecting that to be the end result, but I'm saying if we're planning worst case scenarios, if we're talking about contributing money directly versus taking it out of TIF and having what I would consider 99.9% chance of being repaid back, you could pay it out of the same place on day one, but if it's classified as a TIF expense, then the general fund could be repaid back. I don't know, is that, you have any thoughts on that, Amber?
I don't feel that the general fund can handle a $250,000 increase or decrease right now.
No, not 250, 50 per year for the next 5.
Oh,
Okay, well, that sounds better, I mean,
yeah, cause
I was
I
if
saying,
you take
that can be
250,
handled.
if
I
you
was-
take 250 off the, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, the general basic fund, you're looking at just over 3 million for an ending fund balance.
yeah, I was saying spreading it out over 5 years, but if we made that commitment,
And that's not
then
good.
they could plan.
Well, it's just lower than it's ever been.
just so, if we stay over the $3 million mark, that's good, right? Yeah, we want it over 3. I would be on board with that,
50 per year.
for 5 years, I would, I just don't wanna,
Would you be comfortable with that being budgeted and planned as a TIF expense with an internal loan from general basic? Because at least then, when the money comes in from the TIF, we could put it back in the general fund rather than just sending it out from the general fund.
But I don't
know, can we have?
I don't think you can have an internal loan from general basic to,
It would have to be general supplemental,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
We can't have an internal loan from general basic?
not for TIF.
Why not?
Cause it's in the unincorporated
Yeah.
areas.
It'd have to be at a,
I think the money for the grandstand has to come from a loan.
No, the
External
grandstand,
loan.
the fairgrounds is in the incorporated areas.
Right, isn't that why we talked about it
Yeah, why
had
it
to be
couldn't
an
come out of
external?
rural.
right,
Yeah.
but you can't, there's rules about where you can do internal transfers from.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
don't think we can from general basic.
I don't think you can either. You can budget it, but I don't think you can do an internal loan.
So not necessarily our problem, but whereas you don't wanna, or I don't wanna see us put $40,000 or whatever down the road in interest just to play by the rules. By not getting them the money all at once, are you just transferring that $40,000 expense to them? Because they're having,
They'll go to a bank and borrow it, yeah.
which, again, I did not say that's necessarily our problem, but.
Worst case scenario, if we do 50,000, say we budget right now 50,000. Out of the general basic, I'm just talking, out of the general basic, and then when we go to certified debt and take care of the issues that, you know, at valuation time, at that time, we make a decision to go to the external market if we wanna do the whole thing, or the rest of the $200,000. I mean, I know that $50,000 we don't get back through the TIF, but at least we have a commitment to the fair board and we're still being safe on our side. I don't know, I'm just really, really leery about the TIF money and I just am. I'm leery about it and I hope it all works and I hope we get the money, I hope it's great. I'm just kinda scared.
I'm not smart enough to be scared.
Our 2% raise, so how much, if, with our levy where it's at, how much more, how many more dollars are we generating in general basic than we did last year?
150.
Let's see.
I remember counting, I think it was that high,
I think it was about
for some reason. I was thinking
150 in general and like 50 in rural.
So,
I just wanna know general.
general, so about hundred and, yeah, 140,000 more. Here, let me do it for sure and I can tell you.
I think it rounds to 150 if I remember right. No, we looked at that.
$145,864.
It's not gonna go very far with the health insurance and everything.
Health insurance, at least it's
Different.
on supplemental.
Yeah, it's a different fund.
Of course.
But it's still, it's still all tax dollars at the end
Yeah.
of the day, so it's still
It's just where, yeah, it's just the pot of money it sits in. Well,
and we got wages and all that, that's gonna take out of that 150. And,
well, yeah, I'm not saying we're actually, I mean, we're not spending it, but I was just trying to figure out, well, where does that sit?
Even the 50 would come out of the fund balance.
yeah, well, I mean, with our 4% raise on wages,
That's gonna
I
take out the
guarantee
145.
we're gonna be over $150 in dollars for wages.
Well, definitely, yep.
Cause I'm pretty sure last year when we were talking 2%, even after all the other conversations, pretty sure that was about 200,000.
Yep.
So, and I don't remember if that was elected officials or not, cause I think we did the math both ways, but I'm.
Either way,
sure-
it's gonna be more than 150,
I'm sure we're over that,
Yeah.
yeah,
so,
so,
like I say, the 50 is gonna have to come out of the fund balance. If we're we're doing that, I mean, it's not like we're gonna have extra
Well, and even
revenue for
with,
that.
even with the other raises and stuff this year, that'll be, some of that'll be out of the fund balance too.
Correct.
Well, I mean. So we're good with the 250,000 number, but we just don't know how we're gonna pay it.
Sounds about right.
Details.
I just
Um,
hate to see us borrow the money. I really do.
I get that, I just know that, say, employee wages in the courthouse isn't something that's eligible for TIF funding, so. I mean, we have a project that we're talking about putting money towards that is eligible, it's on the list. We kinda tentatively agreed on a dollar figure. I don't see a lot of good coming out of paying it out of general basic. When we have projections for substantial dollars that will be available in TIF. Obviously, that's projections, that's all
Well,
that stuff. but-
is it something we can do 50,000 out of TIF over the next 5 years? And then if something were to, you know, the sky were to fall and we don't get TIF money, well, then that's just something you explain to the fair board. I mean, obviously, something major is going wrong and people are gonna understand that, but, yeah.
Well, and we could, and I guess, I don't wanna repeat myself too much, but the reason I don't feel concerned about borrowing the dollars that we already have, or even that we're talking about right now, is because within a couple years, the entire balance we have outstanding now, plus this 250 we're talking about, would be paid in less than 1 year, if the numbers are correct. I mean, we get 2 years down the road from today, we're gonna be talking, I think, 1.8 million. Like, it steps up, and we're in the smallest revenue potential of the entire picture, right here on the first year.
Oh, I understand that, yeah.
So, I think it's important to be conscious and conservative of all those factors, but, I mean, even if we had talked about doing 2 or 3 million in borrowing in the beginning, we still would have paid that out in 3 years.
Right, but we couldn't afford to do that.
We could,
No, we couldn't, if we had to do it from the rural basic fund.
no, we don't.
Either way,
have the interest.
we borrowed $1 million, we need to make a decision, what are we doing this year for budget? That,
Yep,
so. We can talk about all the mechanics of TIF later, but
I said my piece, you guys,
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have said yours.
I
That's-
I would go along with the 50,000 a year, for 5 years. I think it could come out of TIF.
It can't,
No,
no,
you can't borrow, well, that's in our plan though.
we can't.
not
we
for the
can't borrow from
fairgrounds.
rural, Not from rural,
You
but-
have to, in order to give money to the fairgrounds, you're gonna have to do an,
Go to the bond
bond,
market,
yes. Or just budget it.
But then if we just budget it, then we can't make that back off of the tip.
Correct.
yep,
Yeah. So it's a choice of paying interest from a designated fund that can pay interest, or putting it as a general expense in the budget. It's-
or wait a year till we're dealing with the new pot of TIF money and do it then,
Well, I think we should
I-
commit something this year, since they are sticking to their part of the commitment with getting the funds. I
Yep.
mean, they are working hard to get their, they are
They-
working hard to get donations,
Yep.
And
so.
they're,
I know,
also,
I know
they're
that.
also spending money every month for,
studies and.
Well, no, that's already done, but their fundraising group, they're building
Oh,
them
okay.
every month that this continues, so. In some regards,
Right, but that was their decision though, that was not our decision.
it
So-
was, but.
We just have to worry about what we're gonna contribute. I'm not gonna raise a stink about it, but I don't agree with it, but if you guys think that it's best to go out in the bond market and get a loan, so be it. I'm
Well, it
not gonna
sounds to
raise
me
a
like
stink
that's
about
the-
it, but I just don't, I don't like the thought of borrowing money.
Sounds to me like it's the only way that we can really do it, to take advantage of it being on tip.
Can you pay the bonds off early?
As soon as revenue comes in.
It's just gonna be a while. I know you say it isn't, but we gotta pay the internal loan first,
And we
Which-
still have internal loans from before.
yeah,
Yeah,
so, I
but-
mean,
even if we. I did all those numbers when we were talking about it, I'm pretty sure even with what we have borrowed to date right now, we'll have it all, we'll have to issue new debt next year, we won't be able to collect it all, so. As we're sitting today, we're not going to be able to collect all the revenue next year unless we issue new debt, so.
where's that new debt gonna come from?
Could be wherever we wanted it to be, but if we have 500,000 that goes back in rural this year, we could turn around, take that plus the interest and put it back in as an internal loan for TIF again. It's just the mechanics of how you get from point A to point B, but, I mean, we're gonna have to do something within the next calendar year, so.
Does everybody agree with that? Within the calendar year, we're gonna have to borrow money to collect this TIF?
The following year's revenue.
Not this calendar year.
This calendar year is covered, but when we're budgeting for the next year,
So
is
next,
what I'm saying.
November,
This November.
when we have to certify debt,
Yeah,
Yep.
by December 1st, we have to
right,
have,
well, so
yeah,
We're gonna have to have the discussion this calendar year, but we wouldn't receive
soon.
we wouldn't do the debt or receive the funds until
Yeah.
So
27.
I'm open to an honest answer, to an honest, what's gonna change your mind between now and November about this borrowing money?
For me, it would be seeing that we actually had that growth and we're actually gonna see the money. That's what it would be for me. To actually
What
see a
growth are you gonna
reality.
see?
So,
And
so the TIF, when you freeze the base, anything that, is added valuation every year is your growth. That's what the money you get to capitalize on. You can never capitalize on the frozen value, it's anything up above and beyond that. So if we get the extra tax base from those windmills, that's added value, so that's money that we get to keep.
And some of the windmills were not on yet, which means they were not taxed yet, so we'll get that additional money from those that haven't even.
And not to get off into the weeds a little further, I apologize, is it possible that the state could change? There's a notion out there that the state has already changed the rules for these windmills once, is that true?
Yes.
And they could change it again?
Yes.
Yes.
Anything's possible.
so.
So is that not also true, somebody glanced off this a little bit ago, is that not also true with the local option sales tax money, that could
Yes.
change too?
You're talking about taking that
Yes.
away.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep,
So I know this is not our problem, but just humor me for one question. So the local option sales tax money that the schools can get, that's 1 percentage point too, that's earmarked for them, is that right?
Do they get 1%?
I don't know
I
what
don't-
they get, it doesn't come through us,
I
so I
understand
don't
that.
know what they get for, I don't know.
Well, okay, I don't need to go down that.
Yeah,
I was just under the impression that the Algonah Schools was using the local option sales tax to pay for this building they're building right now.
no, the addition?
Yeah.
No,
Mm-mm.
that's all donated money. that's what I've been told, that none of that has anything to do with taxes, that that's all donated money.
So Joe Carter said,
Yeah,
I hear different stories, and I got a guy from Jay Limbaugh, that they went to the bond market to borrow money to build that, and it's gonna be paid over a local option sales tax, or I misunderstood.
Well, I don't know how they could collect on local
No.
option sales tax because they didn't,
Okay.
it wasn't voted upon.
Yeah, you have to vote on
Yeah.
it, so.
And it would have been an extra percent,
Mhm.
so I don't,
I don't know either.
yeah, I'm not sure on that, but another piece of the mechanics of the wind turbine projects that have affected some counties, was their valuation is based off of their net acquisition costs. So they're supposed to turn in reports to the assessor's office of basically the total cost that they actually spent to build the project, and then their valuation is calculated using those figures. And for the first, what?
Nothing, sorry.
Oh,
we're just whispering.
so the first, I think it's the first year that they are in or the first, it's either the first year they're in operation or 2 years from construction. They have the ability to revise those numbers, but then in the 7 years that it's stair steps, the first year they're at 0%, the next is 5, 10, till they get to 30. So I believe for the first 2 or 3 projects, depending on how you count them on the timeline, I think those are past the stage where their figures are set in stone, so to speak. They can't come back and say, okay, we initially said $1 million, now it only cost us $500,000. So I think our values are more stable because of the time frame of when we are having these conversations, so just throwing that out for fundamentals.
well, you know, I'm all game for giving them money, I think it's important to keep it here, but I'd like to see that we indeed do see that increase, and I would feel better about the whole situation, honestly. And how we accomplish that, whatever, if we can't afford something out of the general basic fund, we're doing something wrong. We should be able to afford something out of the general basic fund. I mean, I get it, we're not gonna get that back, but then maybe, that's fine, then maybe that's extra money that they get, so then maybe if we give them 25 or 50,000 now out of the general fund, then when we do the loan, if we do 250, well then guess what, they got 300. I mean, that wouldn't be a bad thing. If we can't afford something out of the general fund, we are doing a lot of things wrong.
I have no idea. You haven't shown me the revenue side yet, so I don't understand how you can say that. If health insurance is up 15%.
Different fund,
Different fund, yeah.
Different
You
fund,
gotta keep
different
them
tax
separate,
rate.
you gotta keep them separate.
It's a different fund and a different tax levy, but the same people are paying it, so at the end of the day, when they get their tax bill, they're
Yeah.
still seeing the increase.
yeah, but we're not talking about that pot of money. We are really only talking about general basic.
Right.
That, I mean, that is all we're
That's true.
talking about. We're not. Like I said, now I'm not gonna raise a stink, whatever you guys wanna do, I spoke my piece, I'm glad that I did, and that's how I feel. It doesn't mean I won't stand behind what you guys, if you guys don't agree with me, it's all good. I just
Yep,
worry.
so make the world go round.
I just worry.
Everybody's entitled to an opinion, there's nothing wrong with that.
Here we skipped the engineer so we wouldn't get hung up on one and get through all the little
Yeah,
ones.
that's well, I think you guys just need to say, I mean, I think we all kind of agreed with the dollar amount.
Yep.
So you guys just need to say, loan or no loan? Or
If
right
we are
now.
doing a loan, is it something that we have to put in the budget saying that we're gonna give that to the grandstands?
They get,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Even if we are
Specify.
doing,
We have to
Oh,
budget
We
it
have to
somewhere.
budget the expenditure of of it to be able
Okay.
to send the funds out, so, yeah.
And we have to budget for the revenue side because the money will come in through the loan that we're taking out,
Yeah,
so,
What happens if we budgeted 250,000 that we're saying, but then come around to it and we can only give them 50,000, is that a huge deal? Is that something that,
Well, you're not gonna wanna budget for it if you don't have the money for it.
well, I mean, we're gonna have to get a loan for it regardless, we don't have the funds for it to be able to do it, we would have to get a loan for it, but if we're gonna have it as, you know, that we're giving them that, we need to have it as an expenditure, is what you're saying. Even if we don't have the funds for it, we still need to have it as an expenditure, even if we are gonna go to the open market.
yeah, we have to have an expenditure and the revenue. And at that point, you just as well borrow the 250,000. You just as well have it as 250,000 and not 50,000, and I mean, honestly,
yeah,
so.
and
if-
we're probably gonna be able to borrow at a cheaper rate than the fair board would going to a local bank or whatever too.
So, if you take 50,000 from our ending fund balance, you're gonna be at 3.255951, which is gonna be about 43% instead of 25. Just wanted you to know that.
Say that again.
Okay,
Please.
if you take $50,000 from general basic, you're gonna be at 3.255951.
From the general basic fund.
Yes, so that's where the ending fund balance would be, which is about 43% of our expenditures. And they want you to be at or you'd wanna be at least 25.
Yeah, you don't wanna go under 25%
Yes.
of your expenditures.
I believe you, that's based on what, our old rule of thumb or state guidance or?
It's state
Yeah,
guidance.
yeah,
It's
it's
just-
not a rule, it's just a good,
It's based on the
Practice.
calendar, because your fiscal year ends June 30th, and you've gotta have enough reserves
To get to
the
September
tax time.
30th?
Yeah,
So it's a quarter of the year because of the calendar.
yeah,
Okay.
3 months in the bank.
I just wanted you to know where that would put you if you did that.
which is good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
No. Well, we're gonna use the TIF money, I'm not worried about using the TIF money because we're gonna have gobs of roads and bridge and projects and everything else to do, so I'm not really worried about not being able to use the potential of TIF, we're gonna be able to take that as far as we want to. But if that's where we're ending in a general basic, why can't we budget 50,000 out of the general fund?
And that's considering that
I don't know.
everybody spends every single dollar.
You're gonna do that, and then you're gonna do then you're gonna do the TIF stuff too, so it's, like I
So
say,
you're saying
it's all gonna get used, it's just,
do 50,000, budget 50,000 to come out of just our general basic, and then on top of that, we look at doing a loan for, say, an additional 200,000.
we certainly could.
After we see that money's gonna for sure come in, I mean, I don't have the problem with that, I mean, that,
I guess I'd be on
But-
board with that if that's, I mean, if our fund balance can handle that, then I would be on board with that, but I'm still under the, you know, that's 50,000 that we're not gonna get back from TIF, that's 50,000 just out.
right,
So if, and if we're gonna, I mean, one of the big things about the TIF was to be able to utilize some of it to assist with the grandstand project. And if the only way we can really do that is through the TIF, then yeah, we're still gonna have to do some sort of loan.
for sure, to get them there.
Yep. So I'd be comfortable with doing the 50,000 out of the general basic, and then doing, we see where we're at with the TIF later on in the year and see how things are projected, and then we can discuss doing the 200,000 on a loan, or even, like you
Or
said,
even-
250.
Yeah, to even pay, after July 1st next year.
Yep.
We won't have revenue till tax time though.
Well, but if we're gonna do a loan, why would we need the revenue?
Well, you said you wanted to see the revenue come in before doing.
No.
She wants to see the projected
See the
revenue.
projected revenue for
The-
the TIF, which
yeah.
we'll have that in November.
We already have that for this year.
Right, yeah, I know, but when she redoes it again, she's gonna have another amount in November.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the financial projections from Northland?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I mean, I know we were
But-
here that TIF meeting, I know, but I don't remember if we
But
saw
those
that.
numbers aren't what we're getting,
No, but they're,
It's what's projected.
They're within-
and-
but we're not even getting close to what they
No.
said we were gonna get this first year.
but that's because the lead yard project was figured as a year earlier. It's not like the total's probably gonna be off that far, it's the timing
Well,
of it.
Well, I
We were off
really-
by 100,000 this year and that's, you know, but when we were looking at future years, 100,000 off on $3 million of potential revenue, that's a bit different of the story than
Well, and we might,
100,000 off on 600,000.
and we might see if it's projected and it's really good, maybe we're gonna see everything in a different position and maybe we'll change our mind on what we wanna give.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they'll be closer to their dollar amount or maybe they can get a grant for this if we give this. So maybe there's just more room to be able to, I don't know. Maybe give more. I say that quietly because I mean, I don't want anybody to think that we are, but because we don't know, but
So do you want me to make another line item for grandstand?
I would think you should separate them, yeah.
Cause we are still gonna give them the 25,
it's 30.
30,
well, the 25 for the regular and then the 5 for
Free
the
gate.
free gate, yep, that's what I was.
Yep, yep,
It
yep.
is 30, but I
Yep.
was just saying the 25 for
Yep,
25,
yes.
so.
I didn't let you spit it all out, sorry.
so you want me to put 50,000 in there?
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that plan. I just will feel way more comfortable after we see what November looks like. And then there's no stopping us to do even a budget amendment at that point too. I mean, if we're gonna have another one,
Mhm.
there's no stopping us from doing that, so.
Mhm.
Tammy might stop you.
I will, well, I get it, I know that. I know what those budget amendments do to your time frame.
Okay, before we move on, I need to press.
Okay. Alrighty.
Are we planning on being here all day or?
Well, plan on being here till 4. Just to get through stuff.
I can be here till 4.
I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if he's
We got
taking a break.
EMS at 5 and
Oh,
Phil sent stuff late last night, so I haven't had any time to look at it yet,
Oh.
so
well,
that's gonna be tight, whatever.
we don't have to go till 4, just. We do need to have,
We just won't get very far.
Some of these though, all we have to do is,
Some of them are
I mean,
easy.
honestly.
we do need
Historical
to,
GIS,
we
all
do
that
need
stuff.
to have conversation with Doug though. I think for his budget.
We do, why, what are we doing different?
Well, and
Didn't you talk to him last week when I was gone or no?
we did talk to him some
We
last week.
did talk to him
Yeah.
a little bit.
And we were gonna revisit things, but really what we need to talk about is the staff in the engineer's office with losing Adam. And what we would like to do going forward with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really what I wanted to talk about. And,
I've got a couple things in mind, I mean, that was one, but, I mean, we talked about the difference of dollars towards new equipment versus construction projects last week, and I don't think we ever really got anywhere from that conversation, but.
No, but I think that all counties are kinda in the same position. I mean, they're restricted the same way we are, you know, and they're facing the same things. I talked to a county and they said, there's lots of projects our engineer wants to do, we just can't do them, we don't have the money.
Yep.
So I mean, we are not the only
Oh,
ones
no.
having that
No, we're
conversation,
not.
so I think, I mean, we can only do so much, but we have to be comfortable in knowing that going forward, we can still provide services. And if it's gonna come down to services, if we can't provide a service because we are not gonna get this piece of the equipment, that's not a good thing either, but
Yep.
Well,
I just don't want us to be in a position where we're doing what we did last year and then we're not mowing ditches and we're not paying, we're not, because it
We're not
just-
gonna do that, but
and those were some of the things we have to cover, but I don't know if those are in the budget now or not.
Well, I hope they are.
If you're thinking about making changes.
Yeah, that's true.
how are you gonna have a discussion with the board?
Well, I mean, just a couple people, I mean, instead of, I don't know.
Certainly can.
I don't know, just, yeah, I hate to blindside him and open flood them. But,
Huh, I mean. What's going on? Well. I guess. Yeah,
just my opinion.
sure.
I didn't hear much of what you said, if you're looking for my opinion, I can't give it at this point.
But.
It's hard.
I mean, everyone has to be involved in it, but
Ultimately, yes.
yeah.
So are we moving on to general assistance?
Yeah,
Grab my
let's
soda, I'll be right back.
go through some of these as quick as we can, I suppose.
We needed to leave.
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
No, not yet.
And say if you need to go, go. I should've gotten one of those other vending machine when I was down there.
When we were in California, I drank a lot of coffee. You know, cause, you know, you're sitting around with a group of people, so you're drinking coffee. And now I find I'm really thirsty because last week I drank a lot of coffee.
Trying to catch up on your hydration after that?
I guess something,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well. Yeah, let's roll through some of these here. Go to general assistance.
So there is a change in insurance on page 1.
Yep.
The new amount is $12,863,
Oh, 863.
12,863, yes.
Okay,
I'll say,
What, I'm sorry? Did you?
anything else there?
No, I
No.
think that's everything.
Okay.
You have their
Yeah,
bottom
that-
line.
Yes, hold on, and I will give you that.
The bottom line, that first page where they went from 4 to 6, just for quick, rent and what?
What, I'm sorry?
what was your question?
Bottom line of the first page, there, page 1, where it went from 4,000 to 6,000.
So it's raising the rent,
yeah,
raising their
Their
country
contribution towards rent, yeah.
from.
175 to 300, yeah.
Yep,
Okay, so the bottom, or the total is 96232.
thank you,
Okay.
96232.
yep.
Any other questions? Okay,
No.
GIS.
Same thing on page 1, his new health insurance is 25726.
Okay. Bottom line,
Um, I'm sorry, 16133.
okay,
161033.
Oh, 160133.
160133.
Yes.
Okay.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
Historical. Is what it is.
Yep.
Human resources. Different insurance number,
Yes.
And that should be general assistance.
So, 12863.
okay. Bottom line,
Will be 63239.
63239. Human services,
Nothing,
what's that?
nothing.
Nothing, yeah. Library,
Keep flipping.
Okay. Mental health is the only one where not knowing
right,
what we're gonna do, if we're gonna need to budget for an advocate.
Yeah,
Were they talking about doing
We're
just a
gonna-
fourth, but Kyle said something about a whole
Whole
one.
year, yeah.
I would budget for the whole year because you don't know, well, if they keep it where the counties are having to pay it, we may have income coming in to offset it, but I don't know if we can count on that. That's just my opinion with the state, but,
Oh, you skipped over
medical death investigator, do you
Yeah.
have anything there?
No.
No,
No.
the medical examiner,
no.
Medical examiner,
And now I'm gonna help. Well, add,
You wanna write by medical examiner or
Yeah.
just leave it the way it is?
Yeah,
yeah, that one's kinda, damn if you do, damn if you don't.
yeah, mental health, that first one for 6,000, I would just leave where it's at, but then do we need to, is it, where
there's
would
the
that
officer's salary down
Yeah, so
there.
that's out of 10,000, we don't have a 10,000 fund anymore. So you can't use anything out of that 10,000 fund.
Okay,
So you have to go,
Add numbers,
come?
yeah,
oh, that's the
so
1,000,
they just come out of 1,000?
yes. No, I'm sorry, 3,000.
Oh, 3,000, oh, okay, 3,000.
and that's on
If
page,
we're sharing it with two other counties, I guess my gut would tell me to budget a whole year for a third of the cost.
There's an advocate number on there, Tina.
Yeah,
Yeah, there is.
On page 4, like.
yeah,
Yeah,
mm-hmm,
could you do, so you could put it there, couldn't you?
uh-huh.
yep,
So, what do you think, how much?
Did you say 60 or
80,000
80
for
total.
salary and benefits for the year.
80,000
that'd be the
total?
full, so we need to do a fourth of that, so 20,000?
No, third.
A third.
Oh,
Kyle saying a third of that, instead of just to be a
Cause
little,
there's 3 counties that have it.
Be 26,666 would be the even math, but you could say 27,000
And then-
30.
or 30,
Do 30, okay,
30,
So-
okay.
yeah.
then, we're gonna have FICA and IPers, but what about health insurance and,
That would be built into that number already, right?
That's what he said.
Yeah, he said
Said
it was
the
built
80
in.
included the benefit.
right,
So
oh,
if-
then I'm gonna have to break that out then. So,
Are you saying 30 for wages, and then, so what would the wages be?
no, cause it's
then?
80,000 for pay, or for salary and for IPers and insurance and FICA and that stuff.
How
So,
about-
so that 30,000 would also include all that too,
How about we have
you have to break that
Tammy
down.
get the number from, cause they're employed by Winnebago, right? So Winnebago should have the salary, FICA, IPers, health insurance, all that. They would have all that broke down. I would get the numbers from them and then,
Just put a third of that in ours.
yeah,
You
put
need
a
their
third of
sticky
it
notes.
in ours. I mean, I wouldn't have that information.
Okay.
Yeah,
And we could just know in our head that it's probably gonna be a
Roughly.
little under 30,000.
Roughly.
okay. Well, otherwise, yeah, not much else to do with that one at the moment.
Yeah, and without getting variance or anything like that there. I wouldn't wanna get a quarter of the way through the year and have to amend our budget because we didn't put that in.
Yep,
And we have to
yep.
check. So, I don't know.
Okay, miscellaneous,
I wrote no changes, but.
yeah,
you guys think.
and then here's your nature center, Howard.
Got any thoughts there?
Really no change, except for,
No,
I'll put my sheet on.
budget's down
yeah,
a little bit.
leave it,
Yeah, hey, but it's down, it's down.
we'll take it, we'll take it. Non-departmental, which wait for health insurance discussions to. Well, no, that'll stay the same,
No.
that'll stay the same.
does your page 4 at the bottom have the 1.3?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, and this page 3 is where we have the urban renewal funds in the budget, so that's 536, almost 537. I know I was rounding 550, but yeah, I mean, that's what we're expecting to come in.
where,
Which one
what,
are you looking at?
Page 3, top of page 3.
in revenues or expenditures?
Expenditure.
Expenditure.
Oh, 536,000.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So that's what's gonna go towards the loans that we have right now. Okay.
yeah,
And so you probably have a revenue side that matches that number.
correct,
sure.
and I don't have to split it out 3 ways this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
That revenue is on page 3 of, or that number is on page 3 of revenues. We have them out on page 11 of revenues. Under local option system.
1.3 or something, 1.362,
Yep. Mhm. Okay.
292.
Yep.
Page 3 for revenue.
Did Nick budget like an increase in the interest, or is he just playing it mildly?
No, I think we did
We did that on the budget fund though.
we did part of it, but then there's gonna be more than that, and I think we just adjusted our working balance and added that in there.
Is that a line item in non-departmental? Did you see that somewhere?
No, that one,
No, I just kinda was thinking about it, and so I wondered if we, still, because this past year, it was an extra like, wasn't it like almost 400,000?
400.
So I didn't know if he like padded it this time, or if he still played
yeah, we,
low.
no,
That
he,
would've helped our fund balance quite a bit.
it does, cause it's in hold on, let me pull it up. The re-estimated budget amount for this year is where it's added in, so it's gonna affect this year's ending fund
Is that
balance.
in the treasurer side of budgets, or is that a non-departmental?
It doesn't show anywhere on your worksheets. This is on the budget we're currently in.
Yeah, but shouldn't it be somewhere in our worksheets?
No, cause that's just budget, this is actual amount, budgeted amount.
Oh, yeah, but doesn't he budget for future interest?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was just wondering, did he,
oh, for next year, I
For-
don't know,
yeah, for
we
next-
readjusted it for this year because we're
Right,
gonna get
yeah.
more, let's see.
Yeah, there should be income in there somewhere.
And under his, I think,
That's kind of.
is his under his, or is it,
well, it would be, I figured it would be under 99, wouldn't it?
on what,
Yeah.
maybe it is.
That is under his. No, here, no, this is not the right one. That's self-insurance and investment,
Yeah, that's.
that's gotta be under treasurer.
But his investments are for the whole county, not just his department.
Yeah, but it's a first line item, he budgeted 300,000. Very
Okay.
first line on his revenue,
Okay, fair enough.
but yeah,
It's been higher.
the last 2 years are off the charts compared to previously.
Okay.
Let me
Fiscal
make
year
sure.
Well, the reason he stepped that down was because he was under the impression that the, interest rates were gonna drop. So he put it lower.
Well, I'd rather you do that.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Underestimate your revenues and
Mm.
overestimate your expenditures, and hopefully it's a wash.
because we did re-estimate this year's, to 600,000, because we've already
did,
received
okay.
over 400,000,
Okay. So that helped,
yes.
that helped a lot. I don't,
Everybody go with non-departmental?
I think it looks
Yeah.
good.
Planning and zoning. We had just added 1,000 for education and. Otherwise,
I put revisit fees.
yeah, I did too,
You guys have fees?
Yeah, that's.
maybe look at application fee raises through the Board of Adjustment, as it's been over 12 years since they've been increased.
Oh, okay, that's what it was,
Are you talking about on the revenue side or?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not gonna be earth shattering stuff, but,
Yeah,
and I would say, probably get his opinion on what maybe we should raise it to, or otherwise we're just throwing out a
yeah,
number.
I would,
Who's his?
It does, yeah,
It would
or,
be the new-
now the new, when does Corey start?
Monday.
Monday. I would say get Doug's opinion on it, just simply because he's been dealing with it.
well, and even if we raise fees, if we have extra income, it's not gonna be a bad thing, so I don't know that it's critical for this budget conversation right now.
Yeah, what'd you say he started?
On Monday.
Monday. So. Okay, no other questions on that, recorder?
I had a note here about the
Deputies?
employee, well, that plus the passport employee cannot touch vital records and I've been wanting to go talk to Karen about that, but I guess if that's something
That's
kind of
state
limits
code.
our employees' ability to do stuff, is that something that's really important to have in that office, or?
You have to have a passport person.
You don't have to
I
do
don't think we
passports
do.
at all.
I don't think we have to do
You don't have
passports at
to,
all.
not by law, every courthouse doesn't do them,
Yeah,
but
It is revenue though, not much,
I think we always have.
What would be the benefit of not doing
'Cause then you'd have to go to
having our employees be able
wherever,
to do the rest of the.
Fort Dodge.
You're talking about two different things there.
No,
Oh.
the postal office here in town doesn't,
Post office
yeah,
does passports?
they do passports. I was just in there this last week and, and I don't know a
I
lot
didn't know
about
they did
that,
that.
that was
Kyle,
one of the things I wrote
I mean,
down.
Kyle, I mean, I don't wanna put words in your mouth, but correct me, he's saying that this person can't do other things in the office, and if we remove passports from there, it would free them up to do more things in the office.
But remember, they're an elected official, that's not your say. You have control over what their final budget numbers are, but not what they do with their office.
Yeah, I was just throwing out there, cause that's a note I wrote down from the conversation.
He said he
I think
wanted to go
you
talk to
might have
Karen
asked the
about it.
question, actually,
I'm
that
just saying.
triggered the conversation, but.
I'm not sure,
I don't know, but I wrote that down, that was new information for me.
So
Okay.
change in numbers for health insurance on page 1. 63677,
Okay,
Okay, can you say that again?
yes, 63677. And that brings it to 418. Oh wait,
no,
Did you have a new number for the deputies change or not?
Well, I was gonna ask about that because Karen had said something about raising Autumn to 85%, but I thought Autumn was at 80%, she's only at 75%.
correct.
Okay,
So she's
That's-
asking for a 10% jump?
I thought so I was just gonna say, I mean, I don't know.
That's the last numbers that I have from Karen.
what I had written down was would like both deputies at 85%, currently one is at 85 and one is at 80, that's what I'd written down.
She did say that.
Oh,
And
okay.
then she did, and then I looked back on the sheet and I clarified, that's not right.
Oh,
Autumn's only at 75.
okay,
Okay.
So I was just asking that because if she's a deputy and she's been at 75 for a long time, could she be at 80? I'm just just throwing it out there.
Okay, so there is a new amount for deputies.
Okay, what is that?
It's 129,983.
129,983.
Yep,
Okay.
And what's that represent?
that's 4% instead
That's
of,
what I thought we were doing, we told everybody to
Yep.
go to 4%.
Right, I was just bringing it up because the other deputies are in it.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I brought it up.
and so then FICA is different, FICA's gonna be 20035.
20035.
And IPERS is gonna be 24723.
Okay.
And then the total is 418986.
418.
986. And the 129,983 is 4%.
Yep.
I wrote that down.
Okay. Whereas everything else looks fine.
I think so.
Safety. Big budget.
There.
Next. Sanitarium.
Okay, there are some changes on this one,
Insurance.
yeah. So insurance is 25726,
Okay.
and then on miscellaneous, do you guys have 2 or 3,000?
3.
Okay, that's what it should be, 3,000. So the total of that one is 125,273.
Okay.
125273.
Yep.
Yep.
What you say we had in miscellaneous, we're at 3 or we're at?
Three.
Three.
It should be 3.
Okay.
Revenue change, I'm guessing.
No, I didn't see those ones.
I don't think so.
Self-insurance.
I don't think there's any
Not much to
changes
talk
in
about
that,
there.
I don't think.
Did anything need to change with that?
I don't think so.
Okay. Sheriff.
Just gonna bring something up since we're talking about real quick with
Yeah, yeah,
self-insurance,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not a big deal. But someone had mentioned to me something, I don't think we've ever had it, and I don't necessarily think it's an issue, but I didn't think people could do that, but that if you have, employees who also have a spouse who can get insurance through their job, that if they don't take it through their job, they pay an additional amount here, so they pay extra. Because they choose to not take it. Is that something that's ever been discussed? I said I would bring it up. I
Can you,
said I would bring
can
it
you
up.
say that again, Amber?
Yeah, so, okay, so say I have this job and I get insurance, my husband has, works at, who knows, Snap-on, whoever. And he can get insurance through his job and he chooses to get it through here. That if they don't, they make them sign something when they first start, that if they choose to not take it, they have to pay X amount of dollars towards the premium.
I would definitely like to know more details around that because I'm sure there's probably some
Well,
laws that would give you some guidelines on what you can and can't do there, but
yeah.
it has not been discussed here to my knowledge.
Well, that's what I had said, I said I had never heard a discussion about that, or I didn't even know you could do that. But they evidently, that's, what some companies do. And then they have to choose, oh, okay, well, if I want this, because it is the better plan, I'm willing to pay for it,
Pay a difference.
pay a difference.
Yeah.
That doesn't even have to be a discussion this year, just thought I would bring it up.
Sure.
Oh, that's probably a good point, because
Interesting.
when we have talked about health insurance, there's comments from a number of people of how many people have spouses with other jobs where they could get insurance, but they choose not to, cause this is the richer plan. So,
Yeah, which I mean, I can't blame people for doing that, but
there's a cost with it too.
yeah, I think the people that came to me with it were thinking, well, this could be a cost savings, and I said, well, I'll certainly bring it up, but I said, I've never heard that we've ever done that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've ever talked about it before, but
Like I said, it doesn't even have to be a discussion for this year, but I'm saying it, and
Yep.
it could maybe be something to explore if we're looking at. And maybe it's something you have to do, when that person signs up, maybe it's not something you can go back to, I don't know. But we'd have to find out a lot of logistics with that.
yeah, that'd be a good question for Michelle.
Yeah.
Okay, sheriff?
Okay. So page 1, health insurance, 191532, and just give me a second.
191,
532.
okay.
I just wanna make sure my number's coming up here the same, that I didn't miss anything. Not printing it, so just give me 1 second. Okay, then. Page 4. Top 228327.
327?
Yep. And the next line 25726. Okay, page 5. The second to the last one, do you have 70,000 in there?
For expenditures?
Yeah.
Page 5?
ARPA for.
Page 5 under
Community
expenditures, the community liaison. Oh, no, you should not have 70,000 there.
I don't have that as a line
I
item.
was gonna say I have it blank.
Yeah, it's fine.
American Rescue Plan.
Yeah, so that one is gonna go, let me see. Okay, so there's gonna be, oh yeah, that's,
Actually-
okay, it should be on that one,
Yeah,
so
that is
on
right.
page 5, the second to the bottom should be 70,000.
Oh,
Because that is the amount that we've already approved from ARPA to pay for the community liaison
Yep.
that's over at the sheriff's office.
Oh, okay.
And we haven't paid any of that because our part portion comes out this next year.
And we budgeted it in 24 when we were talking
Yeah.
about it, but we didn't actually spend it right away because the
The city,
region.
yeah, and the
We were
region,
able,
yeah.
we were able to get funding from the region,
Care
because
Connect.
that gave us 1 or 2 years.
That was 2 years, wasn't it? Either way,
It was one
And
or,
then city-
1 or 2 years.
and then city
the
ARPA funds.
had a year's worth.
yep,
Yeah.
city
And
pays
then
for
we
a
have a
year and,
year
yeah.
worth.
Yeah, so that one is out of that line item, so, yep, that one
That
is
would-
in there.
And that would be ARPA.
Yes, it is ARPA, so, there was another one on page 7.
will that change the FICA and stuff on that? Oh, no.
No.
'Cause that's up, never
Yeah.
mind. Never mind.
No.
Answered my own
So
question.
on page 7, under 0441110305,700,
Yep,
do you have an amount in there?
70.
Cross that out.
70,000, okay.
Okay,
Can you go back to page 6,
health insurance,
health insurance?
does that change?
page 6, yeah,
Thank you.
just back.
Second line.
Second
yeah,
line,
89634.
okay,
So then, so we don't have to budget anything for FICA or IPers or anything like that for the liaison?
No, because we just pay them out to, it's a city
The
employee,
City employee.
so we just pay that amount,
Okay,
yes.
understood.
And then ending number,
Okay, hold on, I gotta,
That's the whole thing.
It's,
City
The whole
employee,
thing.
we're paying the whole thing now?
just for
Yeah.
1 year, it's a multiple year, it's a pilot project.
Yeah,
That was
it
approved with ARPA funds.
It was originally planned as a 2-year project, but then, so the city and the county were each
I
within 1
lost my
year's
place
worth.
here and I gotta make
And
sure my
then
numbers are right.
The region either came in with 1 or 2 years worth of funding, so that extended the life of it, but they put them in first.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
So now it's our turn.
our funding got pushed back on the calendar.
so we'll put 70,000 in it for the next 2 years.
No,
No,
once,
One,
yep,
once.
so then with this and then the money for the ambulance for ARPA, is that it? Because what
There's-
else is in the
No,
general fund for ARPA money?
that's it,
There's a couple smaller things,
but
there's
it's
like
all been allocated, it's all been,
budgeted,
and contracts have been signed to secure it,
yeah, cause there's like,
But is the money
18.
still sitting in the general fund?
yes,
yes,
but it's just for, what did we say, Kyle,
220 total,
yeah,
30.
something like that, 220 or 230, but 70's the liaison. Like
One.
16 or 18 is for Carissa,
yeah,
And
and I think there's another
125, I think.
16 left for the roof over there that we double checked to make sure that those were
yeah,
paid or not.
and then, what was the other thing?
125 for the ambulance, wasn't it, or was that 170?
Ambulance was up to 200,000, but that was gonna be the remainder of what was
I
left.
think we budgeted 150,
Okay.
Yeah,
and then that's all that's left.
yeah, so off the top of my head, yeah, it is a short $250,000 that's in the general fund for ARPA,
Okay.
which will come out of fund balance.
So the total amount is 3875110,
We're gonna have to say it again, I'm not on the
Okay,
right page.
sorry.
875,
110.
okay.
Is there a reason why we did the ARPA in the general fund and not in its own fund?
I don't know, I wasn't here.
The chaos of.
Yes and no, so when guidance first came out about it, nobody knew what to do with it. And so at first we were told to give it its own project number. And then after we had already done that, then guidance came out to do it in its own fund number. But we had already set up ours, so we didn't change it. We probably should have, but we didn't.
Your life would've been easier.
I know.
All of our lives would have
Yeah.
been easier.
Yeah.
We
because
know.
It probably skewed the, picture.
Yeah.
It made the fund balances a little muddy,
Okay,
but yeah. At least we're most of the way through that now.
We are.
yeah, thank goodness. And now, he was saying, was it, or maybe that was Phil, was there a dollar amount we were discussing that we didn't know yet for paying the city or paying for, or was
Yeah.
that Phil?
That's Phil.
Okay,
That's for dispatch.
okay, so nothing with Roger, fixed,
Well,
nothing with him,
Roger's got it budgeted based on the proposal that we've talked about. Cause that's got an increase of 10,000, if I wanna. I'm probably
What
past that
the, yeah,
sheet
the
already.
proposal that they worked out together,
Yeah, and Roger was leading most of those conversations, but
Okay, so
Yes.
nothing we have to look at in Roger's
no,
budget?
we don't have to go back
No.
to it, but it's
Did he talk,
line item it's on the middle of page 3, under law enforcement communications. We've got 182 budgeted and 172 was the budget for last year, so.
Okay.
It's up right at 10,000, but that is based off of the actual percentages from call volume. So,
Okay,
yep,
as far as the new union goes, he's just keeping in what he has his budget now, cause there's no way to know what they're gonna do.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
yeah, and I've gotten a few of those communications and I forwarded them to Carter and Tammy and
yeah, I haven't
informed
had
them
a
to not
chance,
send it to me again.
I haven't had a chance to look at any of that.
From my brief review of that, I don't know that they will have their paperwork done by this budget year.
That's kinda what I was,
I don't know if you guys got a different opinion, but I don't think they will, so. From
Who,
what I
when
heard.
you say they, you mean the
The
deputies?
deputies,
Yeah,
Yeah, by the time it gets fully approved by the appeal board, cause I think they have a preliminary approval, but they don't have final and
And
it's
then they
gotta go
can't
through
go
a
back,
public,
and they
public
can't-
comment period and.
they can't go back, it'll be for the next year?
Next year.
Okay, that makes me feel better, I was kinda worried like we'd
I mean,
feel bad for the payroll person. If
Yeah.
she had to go back, that's kind of a bad thing.
you mean after the budget's certified or what? Oh, yeah, that would be a nightmare.
Yeah,
I mean, I think Roger touched on it briefly, they were hoping to have it for this year, but if they didn't, they would just do it for next year.
yeah,
like that idea.
I don't know that it's, I guess,
Yep.
if they thought it was that big of a priority, they probably should start a little earlier, so.
mm-hmm,
okay. I didn't have any other concerns there, sheriff special,
He doesn't budget
I have
anything.
nothing there, so
nothing.
supervisors,
Page 1,
I think we can get rid of that department.
the health insurance, will be 77177.
77177, okay,
And
Where?
that will bring,
177.
and that will bring the total to 615,584.
What's the building repair and maintenance of the supervisors? Page
That-
4,
That's the building out on
emergency
Phillips.
response,
Emergency response and training complex.
oh, gotcha,
And we should talk, I guess, whether it's now or sometime. We do need to get some conversations going about that lease.
Yep. Yep.
And that was one thing that I took away from the emergency management meeting, is there's money that she's got budgeted for repairs and stuff, and we need to come up with a plan for rent and repairs and.
well, one of the mayors asked me, so what are you guys gonna charge us for rent, I said, I don't think we talked about it.
Oh, you can.
rent or utilities too, right,
2,000 a
wasn't
month.
that in question?
Yep, it was. And one of the things that's been discussed on and off a number of times is clarifying control of that building and what things need to go to the board and what doesn't, and keys and all those pieces of that needs to be probably laid out in the lease.
Yeah, and I don't have a lot of the back information as to how that was purchased, but was it purchased for, I mean, with ARPA monies for emergency management?
It can't be, because it's with federal dollars, it has to be county, and technically emergency management is its own entity. So they cannot own that building, it has to be owned by the county, that's why it's under the supervisor's budget.
But did we purchase it with that intent though?
For
That it
her,
would be
for them
used
to
for
use it,
That was
emergency
one
management.
For-
of the uses, I mean, we have, sheriff's office has the stuff across the railroad
Right,
tracks.
yep, mhm.
Which
And
they
we're
also
gonna use the
use.
rest for emergency management and EMS and.
Technically,
general
when it was first
stuff.
approved, it was supposed to be overflow for like if the hospital or the schools or something
Right,
happens.
yeah.
And then a drive-through clinic for vaccinations.
And
Oh,
They
yeah.
can-
extra for COVID
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's what it was supposed to be originally, that's what was approved by the ARPA committee for it to be used for.
And then it morphed into storage and training and all that, yeah.
Well, we kinda don't need the drive-through
No.
Right,
right now.
Thank
I mean, it
goodness.
could, right, it could change
Yeah.
evidently, but, okay, I just didn't know the background. So, that needs to be decided going forward as far as rent and utilities and the cost share of those utilities because of the different entities using it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And we had talked about not specifically charging rent to like the sheriff's office and EMS, cause those are county departments. Where E911 and EMA are separate entities,
Yeah,
so
it wouldn't make sense
a
to,
couple pieces of those,
tax ourselves,
yeah.
well,
or
yeah,
charge ourselves, yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yep,
So,
it's just going from one place to the other, I mean, it's silly.
yep,
Which it would be nice for me to take some numbers to meeting tonight for E911, cause that is gonna be part of the conversation with the budget.
I don't.
I don't think we're there.
I know, that's,
Do we have any do we have any other counties in the state of Iowa that have done something like this that we could start with? You know, and be like, okay, here's how this county does it, and take a look at it instead of reinventing the wheel?
Probably, but I mean, Todd already drafted an
Yeah.
agreement and had a
Oh.
template for us, so
Okay.
really we just need to talk about kind of the fundamentals of what we want. Set a price for rent,
Yeah.
set a way for splitting the utilities or a fixed amount, whatever. And repairs and maintenance, all that's part of the conversation, but I mean, we have a template already, so
Okay.
we're not completely reinventing the wheel.
Okay,
They just haven't filled in the amounts yet.
Yeah, we gotta fill in blanks on a few discussion items.
that's nothing urgent that would affect this budget anyway, right? Or would
I
it,
mean,
or would it for
it would for them, for sure.
yeah,
well,
For
it would,
E911?
it would affect all the budgets, but probably not to the point where it's life altering. We could probably incorporate that in the budget amendment later on in the year or after next year, whatever. I don't.
Well, for us, it would just be revenue, and you don't have to do a budget amendment for revenue. But like those different
Those
entities would have to do,
expenses.
EMA and E911 would have to if they're gonna be over their bottom line.
Yeah,
well, E911 doesn't have anything in there for building rent or anything like that, so they
So
don't have to
everything
add.
in there you'll spend
I think they
for
were,
expenses.
I think they were just talking 10% of utilities. Was the one of the first
That
numbers.
was the discussion, which.
45,
come-
45,
yeah,
10, right?
Come to find out, I think, said that he wasn't part of that conversation, I don't know for sure, but.
Yeah, I don't think those conversations happened in the most productive manner, but
So
that's something.
45, 45, 10 is what was proposed.
For the split for utilities and stuff, but there was never really a discussion on the rent portion of it, and, which, I'm not even sure if there's a line on the budget for utilities for E911. But,
And did you guys talk about that being something that at the end of the year, like in May, they add it up and tell each department what they owe, or that they pay it every single month that way?
well,
I think we were gonna keep the utilities through the board because then we'd have one bill to pay and it'd all be in the same spot with the building, but it was gonna be a prorated amount split out or whatever, which how, I mean, doing it in May or whatever would probably make sense, but I
Just so long
don't,
as
we
it's
didn't,
paid in that fiscal year?
yeah, we didn't get into the nuts and bolts of it.
Okay.
That's kinda where it got left off, was fine tuning the nuts and bolts.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so is board of supervisors done? Will we need to plug anything in for the union stuff, since now we'll be negotiating a union, or will we have enough in our budget to cover?
I would think we
Well-
probably have enough, but I don't know.
We should well, because we'll be up for union negotiations with secondary roads next
Oh, yeah,
year
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
so we
We
need to
will.
account for that.
Does that come out of supervisors or does that come out of Doug?
supervisors.
Supervisors, because she's our
Our,
representative.
yeah.
That
Let's see, where
probably,
is that arbitration?
yeah,
There's
Yep.
5,000 in there.
Which I think is plenty.
yeah, I wanna say.
Even
it's
if we do
only a
sheriff
couple
too.
thousand.
Oh, maybe not,
I think we'll be okay.
because
the one.
22, 23, we used 14,850.
Yeah, but that was for, wasn't that for all three?
Yeah,
And we had, did we talk about handbook or any of that, that might have ran that cost up?
That wouldn't,
No, that
that
wouldn't
would
have
fall
been under that.
arbitration. That would've just been under legal services or something, right? What is that line item that would've fallen under?
I think that falls under the
Well,
non-departmental.
if we're doing them both, 7, 8? You want a little more cushion?
I would say,
Maybe, if you
I-
really
yeah,
wanna
I would-
increase it.
I'd plan for 10 because if the sheriff deputies are with a new, we've never dealt with before, we need to plan to have a little bit longer conversations there, since we don't know how that's gonna come out, because it's right, it's a different union from previous, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So 10,000.
10.
I guess, yeah.
So it's gonna add 5 to the bottom line.
Yeah. Unless we think there's someplace else we can take away, we wouldn't have to, but. I don't know. You know, if we don't wanna raise it. That's, I mean, it's not out of line too much.
Transfer station or anything?
Well, in Wex, we've budgeted 5,000, we haven't used anything in that line item since 21, 22.
Say that again?
In Wex, wind energy conversion systems, we have $5,000 budgeted, but we haven't used any money in that since 21, 22.
Yeah, why would we use it?
Unless we had an issue and had to, I don't know what we'd use it for.
I mean, we have an ordinance.
Yeah.
And they're all built, and we're not building anymore.
So I don't know what we'd,
There's been talk of other projects
Yeah.
and requests.
well, it doesn't mean we're
Yeah, but we're
pursuing it
full
though.
right?
We have a
Unless the
cap,
ordinance was changed,
we'd have to go through that whole ordinance process again.
yeah.
Which then
I'm
would
just-
increase our,
Just talking.
How about no?
We're planning,
How about no?
we're planning,
People can, I mean,
budget.
those companies are always gonna be going around and trying to get interest in every county, so there's always gonna be talk of projects, but
Well, I would say that if we don't wanna raise it, that would be a good place to take it out of then, if we're not gonna use it.
just don't plan on doing anything in the coming year.
Okay, so take the 5,000 out of Wex.
Tell me where you're at.
Page
Page
2,
two.
like number 3 line.
And then it's a
where it
wash,
says Wex,
so,
and put it to 0. And then that takes care of our extra 5,000 for arbitration, and then we're still same bottom line, God bless you.
Yep.
You're not supposed to hold your sneezes in.
I was told that,
No, we went,
Papa
we
Blunt
went
wasn't
back to
doing that.
supervisors.
boy, when I bought it.
yeah.
get with the program here.
He's still unfair.
It's on the grandstand.
What are we giving to the grandstands again?
Where are we taking it from?
Don't feel bad, Howard, my first time I felt,
I don't feel too bad. I think you got gratified all those
thrown in the deep end with the rock tied to your ankle
Yeah,
and
pretty
trying to
much.
swim out,
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay,
That's how last year
page
felt.
2.
that was
for me.
definitely how last year was.
Then you're gonna take the 5
It
off
was
the 5
terrible.
and
Yeah, so put that to 0 and the other one leave at 10, and then we're
Yep,
same dollar amount we were talking about.
We only got a couple more, then we can
Woohoo! Transfer station.
maybe.
Alright, transfer station, here we go.
The only thing
What-
I wrote down was readdress, dollar amount, put into the equipment fund. This would need to be done by raising tipping fees.
Which the association would have to do.
that, they have to approve
Okay.
that.
Okay,
This-
so
The association
that
approves the
was just
budget.
my mental note I was
Yep.
writing
Yeah.
down, nothing.
Nothing
We
to
Yeah.
talked
do,
about that.
but we do need the health insurance line,
Oh, yeah, that was a change.
line 1, or page 1.
I assume that
With
meeting will be
65.
coming up. Usually it's end of February, beginning of March sometime,
The chair should know about that.
but I haven't heard anything.
He hasn't announced it, he usually does, but.
I'm not the guy that's in charge of that.
Alright, so health
Okay.
insurance
I just show up and
is-
run the meetings.
So first,
Pretty
does
much.
your officer salary on the top, what number does it have?
85.
82,680.
Oh.
85.5.
No, it should be 81,000.
We got all,
3 different
all sorts of numbers going on here.
81,000?
Yes,
Is that a
Okay.
4%?
that's 1.89%.
See, I had 82,680 as the 4%, that, it crossed out
What's that?
85.5.
Oh, well, what?
Oh,
It
Was
says
it-
it includes overtime, I have, this is what I have. $30.25 per hour, 4% would raise it to $31.46, which would make it $65,436.80, but that 81,000 includes overtime.
I have the 33.25 written down as his
Yeah,
proposal.
that's what I
but
have.
he's,
31.46 would be 4%, $31.46 would be 4%.
And then what do you have in the next line item?
83,200.
I have 85.5.
No, 72,360,
Okay, tell me the first one again,
81,000,
just
yeah,
straight,
that is
Yeah.
81,000,
25
and then 72,
360.
27 would be
360.
4%.
okay, all over the place.
27.
27.
And then,
now health insurance.
no, FICA,
FICA hikers.
11,800,
Okay,
and,
Hypers,
IPER's 14,500,
okay,
insurance 36,400,
okay.
That 36,400, was that after he fixed the, because I remember he had punched in a wrong number somewhere. Or was that on secondary roads that he?
Secondary road.
yeah, this is all after he gave me his last worksheet, that,
Okay.
I did that all before I left, so.
Okay,
So,
I just remember he had punched a different number in there.
He didn't have the $250 for employee contribution for
Gotcha.
family plan taken out of it, that's what the difference was.
Gotcha.
So the total is.
there are two different numbers there,
Yeah,
cause of the transfers.
cause of transfers, so the expenditures on the bottom is 1,179,660. And the total on the top for transfer station total is 1,210,660.
Okay.
1210.
Yep, 660.
Okay. Alright. Good with that,
Sure.
treasurer. I just had a note of would like to increase tax department deputy
He did,
to,
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think he did that because he's got 4%.
Okay.
I think
That's not him, it was on a different line item, and he did, but it's been fixed,
The
so.
Insurance?
later one, we'll need that number.
Um,
Health insurance, do you have the updated number there?
yep, $89,402. And then if you go to page 2.
Yep.
Is 37,951.
Okay.
Page 3,
Go back to, no, health 37,152 for health insurance.
37,951.
951.
951
Okay.
for page 2. What did you have next, Tim?
Middle of page 3,
Yeah,
Page 3 would be that,
89,402.
89,402.
would that be,
That'd be the deputy.
that be the deputy on top there, Tammy?
Yeah, that would be.
Yes,
Yeah.
65,861. And then
Right,
FICA
yeah.
is 19,031. And IPERS is 23,484.
Okay.
And that brings the total,
That health insurance change, I missed that.
Yeah,
89,402. Yeah, total,
953,172.
953,172. Okay.
Yeah, and then on the revenue side, that's where you got 300,000 budgeted.
Yep.
which
Yeah,
It probably should be higher than that, but.
yeah, but that's okay, yeah, that's a good problem to have later down the road.
Yep.
Alright,
but yeah, and the registration fees finally increased, I think he said after how long? Or maybe that was something different. I was
Karen
thinking-
No,
did
that was
too.
Karen,
Karen.
yeah.
Oh, gotcha,
I think he did
Theirs
have
aren't
some.
quite yet,
Yeah,
right,
that
not
has
quite,
that has not been voted on by the legislature.
it's just being talked
Correct.
Veterans Affairs,
Okay, health insurance.
oh, wait,
hold up,
Okay,
oh, yeah,
okay.
You ready?
Health insurance, Veterans Affairs.
yes, 12226.
12226.
Lots of twos. And that brings his ending balance to 99496.
Okay,
99496.
Yep,
pretty straightforward.
about.
Save the best for last, the weed eradicator.
the weed eradicator.
No changes there probably.
I don't think so.
There's no insurance or anything in there.
No. And that's all she wrote.
Look at there,
I got lots of sticky notes.
you do?
Yeah,
I didn't think we had that many.
we
We'll
have
have a couple big ones.
ambulance,
Oh, yeah.
E911, engineer, a grandstand,
this, yeah, hooks right there.
mental health, check salary, planning and zoning fees for revenue, take Wex out of board of supervisors, and add 5,000
Which is
to
her-
arbitration.
That's your number,
Yeah,
those are
We
just
don't-
your numbers.
we don't care
We
about
don't
that.
need to hear about them.
We just want our notes.
Okay,
We don't have time to delve into anything on.
Not even
secondary
gonna
roads.
consider starting that.
no,
No,
I'd say we'll call that a day.
So does it,
Yeah. and we still have the discussion about
Health insurance next week.
the health insurance and the range.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I don't. We'll
I'll move
keep
to
that list.
adjourn.
Alright, we have a motion by Stecker to adjourn. All-
Second.
Wactor seconds.
Should've put this in before.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to adjourn, say nay. Motion is unanimous. Thank you all, have a good day.
I was not thinking when I flipped all my papers over before I put these in the back.